Hello guys, this is Nick from forexfornoobs.com with my midday analysis. If you enjoy this analysis, please hit the like button below and hit the subscribe button below to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more analysis, webinars, and awesome Forex education videos. Before I start, I want to tell you how my analysis works. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I hold a live analysis session. In the analysis, I cover all the pairs I'm currently trading. This is usually 10 to 20 pairs, and I do multi-timeframe analysis on those pairs. Multi-timeframe analysis means that I look at every timeframe I have for each pair. I do not trade all of those timeframes though. I use them for analysis. The only timeframes I actually trade are the 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and daily. The reason I do this is because price action is fluid. Price is always moving. If you look at a single time frame, you are seeing a single snapshot of price, and that can be misleading. By looking at a lot of different time frames, you get more snapshots, which gives you a much clearer idea of what price is doing right now. This also ensures that I rarely miss a trade setup. I do my multi-time frame analysis 2 to 4 times per day, so every 4 to 8 hours. This ensures that I see almost every candle forming, which makes it hard to miss a setup. I only post my analysis to YouTube once per day though, as I cannot record every time I do my analysis. You should remember, I do not find trade setups every time I do analysis. Trade setups are not always there when you want them to be. If I do not find a trade setup in the midday analysis, I might find one in the next analysis I do later in the afternoon or the evening. Trade setups aren't always there when you want them, and just because I'm doing analysis, it doesn't mean I'm going to find a setup. Also, if I do find a setup, remember that these are just potential setups. Not every setup I find is actually going to turn into a trade. Many of these setups will never trigger, or they'll just be cancelled. Just because I say that I'm considering entering a setup, it doesn't mean that the setup will actually trigger. But when they do trigger, I enter them, and I post the updates to my blog, which is linked to below. Finally, you may notice that I sometimes fast forward through parts of this analysis. I do this when I cannot find any setups on the pairs that I'm looking at. It saves you watching 5 minutes of me running through charts and saying there's no setup here. So I'll just fast forward through those boring parts. Anyway, enjoy the analysis. Today is Thursday, the 29th of September 2016, and the time is, Alexa, what is the time?
The time is 11:13 a.m.
The time is 11:13 a.m. according to Alexa. Here in the UK, you're looking at a GBPJPY daily chart. Let's get started with the analysis. So yesterday we talked about potential GBPJPY long. That long did trigger overnight, triggered while I was in bed around about 5 a.m. also. It's going okay. I mean, it has pulled back a little bit, but you know, that happens. But yeah, it did push up. It looks good. I don't know what else to say about it. Decent setup and decent move so far. Looking at it on the lower time frames, I don't really usually do this, but just to give you guys an idea of what's happening. Price did shoot up real fast, and now it is retracing a little bit. That kind of stuff is pretty normal. When you get this like big spike up, you tend to get a bit of a pullback, so I'm not worried at all about that. And generally speaking, I don't really worry when something doesn't go in my direction right away. Overall, we are seeing buyers in control of price. They made a significant new high, and I've traded this on the daily, so I'm mostly worried about what daily candles are doing, not what the lower time frames are doing. So we'll see what today's candle does, how it closes, and then we'll see what tomorrow's candle does. With any luck, tomorrow's candle will give us a higher high. My target right now is actually at 2. It's around about here. Roughly the 135.73, but I am considering pulling it down to the 1.5 because tomorrow is Friday, and you guys know how I feel about Fridays. Don't really like to keep trades open too late on a Friday, so depending on what this does tonight and tomorrow, I might pull my target down to 1.5. And if it doesn't even reach that target, I might just exit at something like 1 or wherever it's at Friday at about midday UK time. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that. If it's moving really well and it's trending up, at midday. I'm probably going to keep it open, but we'll just see how it plays out over the next 24 hours or so. Anyway, so yeah, that pretty much covers it for GBPJPY. There's an open trade. There's nothing really much else to discuss about it, unless you guys have any specific questions. If so, do ask and we'll come back to it in a second. All right, AUDUSD. We talked about potential short on AUDUSD, but I was waiting for it to happen on the daily chart, and the indecision candle we were looking at ended up closing bullish. So this trade never really done, well, it wasn't really a trade. This potential setup didn't actually turn into a real setup. But that being said, some people did enter on the 8-hour chart, so the trade became this instead. So it was still a short from this resistance area. It's just this 8-hour candle here became the indecision candle as opposed to the daily indecision I was looking for. So yeah, this trade seems to be going well. I didn't enter this one, just to make everything clear. I didn't enter this one personally, but it was posted to the forum, so I thought I'd just take a quick look at it. Is anyone in this room right now in this trade? The forum post didn't get that many responses, so I'm not sure if there's a lot of people in this one or if it was just a few people. You're in? So you're in on the 8-hour, Florin? $7,665. All right, let's ooh, bit of a low entry, but fair enough. So you're pretty much just in. I mean, it is a all right, what I'm trying to say is look over here, right? When you enter a trade, you always look to the left. It's important because looking to the left tells you previous areas where price has recently stalled. So we do have a lot of that on AUDUSD. Now, if I was trading this on the daily, I might not be as concerned because, you know, we're looking for daily candles. We're looking for big moves over an extended period of time. But 8-hour, you know, these kinds of trades, they're usually going to last less than 24 hours. So you might end up seeing price get stuck here for quite some time. So just do keep that in mind. You might have to keep this trade open for a little while. And you might not want to hold over the weekend. So if it happens that price does get stuck in this kind of zone here where, you know, price has got stuck recently all through there too, you might want to consider closing this out before the weekend. It's up to you, but it's just a thought. There's not really much else to say about AUDUSD though, so let's look if there's any fresh setups today. All right, GBPUSD, nothing really happening here. It's already pushed up, so there's no potential reversal trade here. AUD New Zealand. What is that up to? That is completely weird. I mean, it had these awesome indecision candles. Now I was looking to short here, then it shot up, and now it's got indecision again. See, I'm tempted to move my resistance area up here and say that we could short from there, but that would be a bad move. I mean, it's clear that there's support resistance all the way through here. I'm just not really going to do anything with this pair right now. That's a tricky thing about adjusting your support resistance areas on the fly, because when you start adjusting them, you can kind of fall into the trap of adjusting them to the closest indecision just to give you an excuse to enter the trade if you want to enter. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense to pull it up. Like in this case, you know, I'd be tempted to pull it up to here and say, okay, that's resistance, but it doesn't really make sense because we're clearly seeing that the bounces were lower last time. So the bounces were more from this kind of rough area. So if we pull it up to here and we short, what could happen is price could just like drop down, treat this as support, and then push back up. And you often do get that kind of move. You often do get that pullback after price breaks a strong resistance area. Usually it pushes up. Well, not usually, but a lot of the times it'll push up, then it'll stall for a little bit, come back down, hit that, treat it as support, and then come back up. So we don't want to get caught in that trap. So we'll definitely keep our resistance area here. Yeah, let's see what EURGBP's up to. Yeah, it's just in between two support resistance areas. There's nothing really tradable here. GBP, AUD, what are you doing? Nothing much really. Got a feeling today might be a bit of a boring day. EURGBP is it looked like it was going to reverse a few days back. Now it's just kind of stalling. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It might just be taking its time. If we look to the left, last time it did something similar. It pushed down, then it came back up, then it eventually went down. So if you're short on this, I think there's some people short on this. You may as well just hold it. There's no real reason to exit. I mean, we've still got this resistance area up here. We can even pull this one a bit higher, kind of like that. Adjust this one a bit higher because the bounces have been from a bit higher recently. Anyway, the point is, price still looks to be bouncing away from this resistance area. Yesterday's candle did have a lower low and a lower high. Today's candle, we're not really sure what's going on right now. It does have a slightly higher high, but that's nothing to really be concerned about. I would just keep a close eye on this one. But if you're short, you may as well hold this. There's no reason to jump out right now. Euro USD, what's that up to? That's in between two support resistance areas, so we're not going to get anything spectacular happening here. USD CAD's bouncing away from this resistance area again. I haven't taken a 3-hour chart trade in forever. I don't really like that time frame. I started trading it sometime in 2014 because price was moving so excruciatingly slow. Volatility was so low in 2014 that I had to trade lower time frames in order to get enough trades, because you just weren't getting trades on the daily in that period. Volatility was just too low. If you entered a trade on the daily, you just wouldn't get those moves you needed. So I was looking at the smaller time frames, like the 3-hour, 4-hour. But yeah, these days I don't really see any logical reason to keep trading the 3-hour. I don't even know why I had it still up. I just removed it. I'm not going to look at the 3-hour anymore. 4 hours is low enough. CADJPY is somewhat interesting. This could be somewhat of a continuation reversal. I know it's weird when you see me adjust support resistance areas and pull them up to match our current indecision, but you got to remember, when you place a support resistance area, the support resistance area isn't perfect because you can never get your support resistance areas perfect. When you place it, you place your area, your line, your first line, kind of roughly where you notice support resistance is. The shaded area I place around it, it doesn't really define the exact bounds of the support resistance area because it's pretty much impossible to define. Some support resistance areas are really wide, some are really tight. So I just place them there because visually I like to see a zone around it. It looks better to me, and when I look at my chart, it allows me to do quicker analysis and more quickly assess if price is bouncing from around about that area. But in reality, support resistance areas can be much wider. So I pulled that one up, but what you could also do is just widen the band, because this zone doesn't really mean anything. I just have them all the same size, because it just becomes too much of a hassle trying to define the exact zone for each and every support resistance area on each and every pair you trade. So I just have like a standard, like around about 10-20 pips, depending on the pair. And I just copy and paste these over like this. But in reality, this zone here may be a little bit wider. It might be just a wide support resistance zone. So if that is the case, actually let's pull this down a bit to where it was originally. If that is the case, right, where this is just a wide support resistance zone, then this here starts to make a little more sense. This starts to look more like kind of a continuation, doesn't it? So we got this nice little bearish trend. Price came up here, bounced away. Now it's potentially doing that again, potentially. So that's something to watch out for. The other thing to consider is, even if this is a wide support resistance area and price is bouncing from here right now, there is still the fact that it is bouncing from the upper point of this support resistance area. So it's pretty high into the support resistance area. And that's always dangerous, because that means that this support area, this resistance area, we're looking at it as resistance, because resistance is, what you want where you want price to be when you're going short. So we're looking at this as resistance, but because price is so high above this resistance area could become support and do something like that. So my overall point with this is, looking at CADJPY right now, it's a bit tricky to figure out what's going on, but the point is, it does seem to be stuck at resistance, and this could easily end up being a continuation type of reversal. So, price is going down. I'm thinking it could be bouncing from here and then continuing down with the overall bearish trend. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this one. I'm not actually going to call it a potential trade setup, because it is towards the high side of this resistance area, and I don't want to get too excited about this one. I'll keep a close eye on it. We'll see how this candle closes on the 12-hour. Not on the daily, on the 12-hour. We'll see how this candle closes, and we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, we'll keep it like that. Does anyone have any questions about that, or are you guys pretty clear on that? I just want to make sure you guys stop thinking of support resistance areas as too precise, because a lot of people have that problem when you start placing support resistance, especially if you're using it just as a line. You'll place it here, for example, and then price bounces from, or price stalls around about here, and you'll be like, whoa, that's too high above the support resistance area. But the problem is that support resistance is never precise. It's always a rough area, and it can bounce from above it like it does here, for example, or it can bounce from below it like it does there. So if you try to be too precise with your support resistance areas, you end up in a situation where you're going to skip a lot of good trades. Just waiting for questions. I see some people are typing, so. While we wait for questions, I'm just going to quickly flick through this AUDJPY chart, see what's going on. Yeah, so it's moving up, it broke out. Ah, you were talking about EURGBP. Okay, fair enough. I see what you're typing about. It looks like it's mid reversal on a lower time frame. So like 6 hour, or maybe you're looking at the 4 hour or potentially the 8 hour. Do I think it's a viable setup on the 6 hour? First, let's just have a quick look at the support resistance. Pull this one down a tad because recent bounces were from a bit lower. This one's okay. All right, so our 2 support resistance areas look good. Let's go back to the 6 hour and let's check this one out. The thing is, Jonas, is that this one is kind of, it's pretty low from the resistance area. I mean, let's face it, that indecision candle there is pretty low. I guess that answers, I guess I can answer 2 questions at one time. So what do I think about EURGBP? And Vin's asking, how do you know if an area is if a price is bouncing too low? All right, so when I say that the indecision is too low, what I mean is, I mean that more from a risk to reward ratio standpoint than I do from prices bouncing too low and the trade's not going to work out. Because just because this indecision candle is forming this far below the area we've identified here, it doesn't mean from a price action standpoint that we're not seeing a potential reversal here. We're still seeing a potential reversal. Price is coming up to here, sellers are taking control of price, and they seem to be wanting to push price down, at least for now. So when I say it's too low, it's more from a risk to reward ratio standpoint. So, oh, damn it. Let's delete that one. Yeah. So this trade, all right, our entry would be roughly here. Now, what do we do with our stop loss? When you place a stop loss, you want it to be hard to reach. You want your stop loss to be hard for in this case, for buyers to hit. So if your stop loss is inside this resistance area, or towards the lower end of this resistance area, or even towards roughly the middle, you know, and like I said, support resistance is not super precise. So we're just talking about roughly the lower end or the middle. So, you know, roughly here, that stop loss is going to be relatively easy for buyers to hit. So you want your stop loss towards the top end of support resistance. So you want it towards the high side. And remember, these are just rough because there's no exact precision with support resistance. So you want it kind of high in the support resistance area. In this case, resistance. You want it high in the resistance area. So that would be roughly up here, somewhere like that. That's towards the high side. That's towards the top of this resistance area. So what does that give us? That gives us an entry down here and a stop up there. So for us to get even a 1.5 risk to reward ratio, we're talking about price coming down to the support area. So price needs to reach this support area just to give us 1.5, not even a 2 risk to reward ratio, just the 1.5. And then what you do next is you look to the left. So looking to the left, we see minor support resistance through here, which is just basically price struggled through here. Price struggled through there. Price struggled through here so many times. Pretty much every time it's come through here, it's struggled. So it came up, got stuck there forever. So looking at this setup, is it viable? First, it's pretty low below the resistance area, which means we're going to have a large stop. A sensible stop would have to be pretty large, which would mean that by the time it reaches this problem area here, this potential area where it might stall, by the time it even reaches that, we're at 0.5 risk to reward. 0.5. Not that good. So yeah, my assessment on this trade would be that I probably would not take it. Now, I'm not saying that when you look at this, you don't say to yourself, all right, we've got indecision, sellers seem to be taking control of price, there's a likelihood that price is going to drop down. That's all well and good. If you read the price action and you read it like that, that's fine. That's not a problem. That's pretty accurate in my opinion. It does look like price might start falling down, at least temporarily. But just because we assess that that's going to happen, does it make it a safe trade? No, not really, because for this particular setup here, the numbers just, for me personally, don't stack up. Our stop loss, to get a smart stop loss in, is going to be a bit too big. Our target, we want to place it before the support area. You know, the target is just it's a bit hard to get anything decent. And the minor support resistance, or just the zone where it's going to potentially stall, is just too close for comfort. My charts are GMT +2. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. All right, New Zealand CAD. Let's just look at New Zealand CAD. It looks like it might be bouncing from the support area, but I'm probably not going to take a trade here. New Zealand CAD, it's too messy. It's up in these highs that it hasn't seen for, well, 2014 it was up here, but see how it spiked up to there? That high hasn't been seen for who knows how long. My charts don't go back that far. They don't go back far enough to see. They only go back to 2008. But it's probably been a while since price has been up here. 10, 20 something years. I'll look it up later. My point is, yeah, I'm probably not gonna trade New Zealand CAD. Not right now anyway. But if anyone's interested, it does look like it might be bouncing from this support area here. It could be heading back up to test this resistance area again, so. Yeah, nothing much happening on New Zealand USD, USD CHF. What are you doing? Nothing much. It's in between two support resistance areas. So nothing really going on USD CHF, and GBP CAD in between two support resistance areas. So we're not going to see anything on here either. So yeah, there's no real fresh setups for today. That's unfortunate, but it happens. I'm keeping a close eye on this GBPJPY trade that we're in. We'll see how this one plays out. Let's not look at it on the 4 hour. This is still a pretty strong setup, still looking good. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up below. If you have any questions regarding this video, then leave a comment below and I'll respond to it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get notified as soon as I upload my videos. My Facebook and Twitter are in the description below. Thanks again for watching and happy trading.